sentiment. So there you are, John. You're vindicated in your hatred for Pitchfork. So let me join in.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John, his name's Andy. I never thought it would happen with me and the girl from Clapham out on the windy common that night. I ain't forgotten. I mean, I could go on. All right, I will. When she dealt out the rations with somewhat other passions, I said, "You are a lady." Perhaps she said, "I may be." More on that later, perhaps. But for now, we have to deal with a track from Andy. Andy, deal away.
All right. So we are going to be revisiting a band and an album that I really adore. I think this will be your fourth track off of it. But we're going to check out, it'll be the second on this channel. I think we did two other songs on Into the Music over there. But the band is Silversun Pickups, the album Carnivas.
Uh-huh.
Yes. The track by them that I want you to check out is called Three Seed.
Seed.
Yeah, three like the number and seed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So please go off, give it a listen, and let me know if it meets the standards of some of the other stuff you've heard off this album. I know you've liked them, I think, all to varying degrees. Let's see where this one fits in the mix.
Okay, well done.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it's a nice start. The sounds in the background are quite almost thoughtful. And then this bass, it's almost got a percussive nature to the way he's playing it. It's got a really nice sound to it. Yeah, good start.
Remove the bullet from my head. Extract an overconfidence. Hidden so easy to pretend. Too bad the rush was found again.
Really like that guitar as well, and there's something about the tone of it as well. It has another kind of like thoughtfulness to it as well, like contemplative almost. Yeah, it's just going to get some really nice sound, and you've got a kind of emotional atmosphere straight away. Yeah, just pull that, because that second guitar coming in sounded really good as well. Let's put it back a wee bit.
here before. Three came from one little seed, and the last one is all I need. I can see the bottle on the ground. We turn the corner safe and sound. No thought of him as it was done. A clean execution. A clean execution. Cool like the ocean. Burn like a summer home. Fool never notion that the sums don't add up alone. There's a line that is leading, clear defeating all the things I don't believe in, but I'll step in once again. Cut a line to be closer to the source of all the things I never belong to. Step it up and sign right again.
That's nice.
Cool.
I'm just really liking this. There's nothing flashy about it at all, but it's so atmospheric. My mind was just wandering there as that guitar part was going through. It's really beautiful. And for some reason, I was thinking of like small rivers and reeds. Why? But I was. Um, that bit when it broke down just then, I think I could just about hear there was some sort of electronic noise, really faintly as well. I don't know if that was a bleed through from something else, but that's what it sounded really cool. It's like I remember there was this old toy I got given years ago, and it's one of these viewer things where you held up to your eyes and you slid stuff in, and it was all layers, and so each bit would add to it until you got a full picture. And I think it kind of almost gave like a 3D effect, but there was colors, there was foreground, side stuff, background as well, and then other stuff coming in. And that's kind of what's going on with these musical parts here. You've got that lovely constant drum beat and that sort of slide with a kick. It's sort of like a bit of push pull, so just keep you chugging along. You've got that really nice sort of loose slack guitar, and then that other guitar that's more picking at the top. You got this higher notes. I think it's a synth which keeps going, and that's sort of going as well. And then other parts as well, the bass coming forwards and backwards, and then his singing's kind of just commentary over the top. Really, I'm letting it wash over me. So I'm not getting the words as usual, but and they just slide, and each time you slide a bit in and out, it just changes the view slightly. It's really nicely done, and it's all done in a very calm, flowing, relaxing manner. It's beautiful. I don't know if you can hear that bit. I've got no idea. I'm just going to randomly take it back a few bit. Really nice sound guitar. Something going on there.
Cool like the ocean, burn like a summer home. Fooled by the notion that the sums don't add up at all.
That ending as well. Yeah, that's just a real gem of a song. As opposed to the other songs that Andy's given me by this band from this album, there were both of them that I think of. Both had moments of like sonic explosion, which I really loved. Sort of took me away on a wave of noise, whereas this one just gets into your bones. It's yeah, really nice. Okay, let's go back and discuss it more with Andy.
All right. Welcome back to the fray. What do you make of this now your fourth dalliance in Silversun Pickup's first album, Carnivas?
Yeah, this is a different song from the others that I've heard from them. Yeah, it starts off with these almost thoughtful synth notes that sustain, that starts us off with this lovely bass, which is almost percussive in the way it's played. You know, there's a real feel to it. And it introduces us in very quick shorthand to a kind of emotional atmosphere. And it does have their sound, at least, you know, I recognize it compared to the other songs from this album. It's of that same feel. So yeah, yeah, this is them. And yeah, and the way they like immediately sort of like, put you into a context, you know, this sort of, you get, you know, senses from it already, you know, really quickly. I think that's really skillfully done. So the drums kick in along with the vocals, and the drums have that nice beat, and they also have that, I don't know how to describe it, that kind of slide kick, which kind of gives you a bit of, at the end of lines, it gives you a bit of push and pull to it, which I really like. And it's got a really nice beat to it. The vocals, we've spoken about his before. I won't mention Smashing Pumpkins. I do like his voice. We said this before. Again, the tone of his voice is thoughtful and sort of, you know, yeah, he's sort of almost reflective as well. And again, there's a nice feel to it. There's a high guitar that joins with this lovely sort of picking riff. I don't think it's quite arpeggio in terms of its a chord, because it's more of a phrase, but I really liked it a lot.
Yes.
And again, that brings a kind of wistful motif with its tone as well. So again, all of this is building atmosphere and painting pictures in my head. They're not fully formed yet. It's more like finger painting rather than brush strokes, but it's all like starting to form. And then a second guitar joins, and this one I can only describe as sounding more slack. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's got that sort of looser slack to it. So obviously a few tones down as well, but it feels more corporeal, like it's the movement of a body, that guitar, rather than this wistful sort of motif from the other one. And I like that just as much. I will say at this point, the lyrics, usual disclaimer that on first listen, there's so much musically to pay attention to. So most of the lyrics washed over me, but I enjoyed the tone of his voice and whatever the words were. But I did get that repetition of clean execution, which I thought was interesting. I have no context to make any sense of this and what he said before or after. But I thought it was a really interesting phrase, clean execution. And I thought maybe it referred to an action rather than a death. There was a clean execution of something, that he did. So both guitars now, and you get these sustained notes of the synth rising up, in the mix, so they come to the fore. And really interesting as well, the synths, I think it's them, do this odd, like chimed note at the end of a guitar phrase that kind of adds to it and puts a little, crosses a T or puts a dot on it. I really like the way that fitted in as well. We go to an okay bridge. I've said before that it has to be a really good bridge for me to be a fan of. This is all right. Wasn't anything fantastic. But I really like the exit from the bridge, the guitar part, which is kind of like a mini solo. But just, it's really simple, but it just sounded perfect. The whole tone and intent to it was really lovely. And then we get this breakdown to just the drum beat. And while I had to pull it back, you get this faintest hint I could hear of some sort of electronica pulsing away really, really faintly in the mix, almost unheard. And it felt like it was almost like a radio signal from somebody lost in time or space, or these people who get, they're in those not submarines, those sort of like diving vessels, and they get stuck at the bottom and can't get back up, and you get the signal from them slowly fading away to nothing. And that kind of put that into my head straight away. It's just this tiny bit of beep, 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 really quietly, but it stuck that into my head. And to be honest with you, at this point, my mind started wandering. And for some reason, while he was singing and doing this stuff, I was picturing a river with really tall reeds just gently swaying. I don't know why, but that just popped into my head. And I realized at this point, the song has an overall feeling of being withheld, like it's all within itself. There's no real chorus or any other sort of, explosiveness that with some of the other songs. It's just all kind of swirling and drifting, which probably put me in mind of the sort of reeds in the river. And it's just a really interesting, nice song. And then it reminded me of this. I know this is a really hazy memory, but I remember this toy I got given. I think I got given it to play with. I don't think it ever became my toy. I just had it for a while, and it was like, forgive me here because this is really, I mean, I must have been like 4, and it was like a viewer where you slid in these frames into it, and there was loads of them, and it built up a picture, and it was layered, and it's a really distant memory. So it's not any. I can't remember what the picture was, but I think it was some sort of like scene. So you had foreground and background and stuff, but each slide changed the picture. It may have overall given a 3D effect. I'm not sure, but there was colors, but each slide changed the picture completely. So you're getting all these different viewpoints from basically the same scene, but just the way they were put together. And that's what I got. That's what I felt listening to this song, with the different parts coming in, sliding in and out. It was just changing it and giving a sort of, and I again missed the lyrics, but musically it was a slightly different viewpoint or a different feel each time. with the guitars coming in and out, the synths coming up and down, the bass was coming up and down in the mix, I mean, to the forefront and back, and the drums were constant and really nice, and the vocals washing over the top for me, they were kind of washing over the top. So I thought it was a really underplayed song that was very beautiful in its feel. And I really like the ending with the sustained notes dying as well. It's really pretty, and it kind of made me think again of that radio signal bit. So I have no idea what the song's about. I thought it was a real gem of a song. And rather than the other two that I sort of that came to mind, Rusted Wheel and Lazy Eye, they had both of them had elements that were like sonic explosions, as it were. This one just seemed to get into your bones. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I thought you would like it. I really thought that the higher guitar would kind of speak to you as well for some reason. I don't the way it's just so clean and pretty. And it is almost dreamy in its quality that I thought, oh man, John might latch onto this bit. And I thought you'd like this song in general, and I'm really glad you did. Yeah, I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. It's one of my favorite songs of the 2000s, or my favorite albums of the 2000s, I should say. And I could listen to this thing cover to cover, front to back. It's all good stuff. So yeah, quick recap of the band. I don't want to get too much into them because, like I said, we've done them. We did, as John alluded to, we did Rusted Wheel, and before that, Lazy Eye on Into the Music. We did Common Reactor in the early days of this channel, and now here we are with Three Seed. So there's plenty of information about them you can go check out on those aforementioned videos. But they are an alt indie shoegaze rock band out of LA, and consist of Brian Aubert on guitar and vocals, Christopher Guanlao on drums, Joe Lester on keyboards, and Nikki Moniger on bass. And I don't remember if I mentioned this anecdote before, but it makes me chuckle every time I see it. Aubert first met Moniger on a 1994 flight from LA to London, and they were both heading to Cambridge for like a student exchange program. And on this flight, Aubert spotted a stranger who turned out to be Moniger stealing alcohol from the drinks cart that was passing through the aisle, and saw a kindred spirit, sparked up a conversation, and years later, they would go on to start Silversun Pickups in the year 2000. So, and this, as I said before, one of the many superb tracks off the Carnivas album that was released in July of 2006. The alternative press gave it a perfect rating of 5 out of 5 stars. IGN scored it a 9.1 out of 10. Album of the Year rated it an 81 out of 100, and NME gave it a 4 out of 5. However, I want to take time, and this is something that I think John will appreciate because he is no big fan of this entity. I want to take time just to underscore how fucking awful Pitchfork's review was of this album. They scored it a 5 out of 10. So please indulge me while I read from WordPress writer Jeff Goodsmith's scathing review of Pitchfork's scathing review of Carnivas. Pitchfork again dropped the fucking ball with this actually quite atrocious review of Silversun Pickups Carnivas. The review was released at a horrible time. The album had been out for over 3 months already, but it was about 3 months away from exploding behind the band's release of their first single, Lazy Eye. So here we see Pitchforks dissing a band, by the way, that is actually quite good. But in doing so, they are neither ahead of the music curve nor ripping apart a popular band. Instead, you get a shit article that it complains about a song, that songs that are too long, the songs rarely go over 5 minutes in length, and which have too much screamed vocals, yet Pitchfork is madly in love with Mastodon. Fun fact. This will not be the first online article to rip on the writer of this Pitchfork review. If you Google the reviewer's name, the third thing that hits discusses another one of their record reviews, saying it is predictably, and this is their words, predictably retarded. How something can be predictable in its retardation is a bit beyond my pay grade, but I agree with the sentiment. So there you are, John. You're vindicated in your hatred for Pitchfork. So let me join in. I too agree with you. So in a Pop Matters article from August of 2006, Adrian Begrand writes, Three Seed, a bleary-eyed ballad, provides the prettiest moment on Carnivas, while Dan Caffrey of Consequence would say Carnivas ebbed and flowed between restraint and chaos a la Michael Myers, stalking the listener with Nicki Moniger's brooding bass in songs like Three Seed before murdering their eardrums with the shoegaze distortion of Common Reactor. So let's jump into these lyrics that you barely caught. Remove the bullet from my head, extracting overconfidence. Hidden so easy to pretend. Too bad the rush was found again. I can see the pictures on the floor, sketches of what was there before. 3 came from one little seed, and the last one is all I need. I can see the bottle on the ground. We turned the corner safe and sound. No thought of him as it was done. A clean execution. A clean execution. Cool like the ocean. Burned like a summer home. Fooled by the notion that the sums don't add up at all. There's the line that is leading, clearly feeding all the things I don't believe in, but I still step in once again. Cut in line to get closer to the source of all the things I'll never belong to. Step it up and sign right in again. Guitar solo. Cool like the ocean, burned like a summer home, fooled by the notion that the sums don't add up at all. Cool like the ocean, burned like a summer home, fooled by the notion that the sums don't add up at all, that the sums never add up at all, that the sums, they don't add up at all. And in June of 2010, Mike Rotham conducted an interview for Junebug.com in which he interviewed Brian Aubert, the lead singer and guitarist of the band, and asked him about the meaning of the song. And Aubert would say, Three Seed is one of my favorite songs from Carnivas. It is about repeating patterns and having 3 completely different situations that are obtuse as they were from, different situations that, as obtuse as they were from each other, almost shared a singular path. The 3 Seed in the song is actually refers to one of the people involved in the song as she is a triplet. So I think the line, sort of from one seed came 3 and the last is all I need or whatever is like referring to themselves. She's talking about she needs herself to get through this. I think it's sort of repeated patterns that aren't good for you. And there's allusions to drinking and hubris and things like that. So probably stepping in the same pile of shit you've stepped in one too many times and reflecting on that. And sort of the notion of these like pictures on the floor of what was once before, like what was sacrificed in the wake of repeated hubris or relapsing into alcoholism or something like that, with these empty bottles on the ground or whatever. So that's my interpretation of it. On a more micro level, the macro is sort of this, the idea of repeating patterns that Auburn talks about in that quote. But yeah, really beautiful song. I mean, it's funny that you get taken to like, you had mentioned this sort of beautiful nature scene of reeds blowing along a river. And I sort of get similar as like driving down a really dark road that's wooded on both sides. And you can feel the trees coming in around you. And you're just sort of driving through the tunnel of light that is only provided by your headlights and nothing else. And that's, I don't know, I could just get, I guess behind both of these visions that we had is this notion that you can just get lost in the sound. Like it could go on forever and that would be all right. Because it doesn't, like you said, there aren't these like clear lines of delineation between parts of the song. It's just kind of all one 5-minute and 15-second piece that's really, really pretty with some underlining melancholy that's actually kind of beautiful in its own right too. So, and like it was stated a couple of times, Moniger's bass in this, while it's not like you're not getting Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers or anything like that, it's like bow, bow, bow. It's none of that stuff, but it's just this mood piece. And if you told me that musically the song was written on the bass and then all the other parts were built around it, it would make so much sense because it kind of has that sound to it. But yeah, I'm really, really glad you like this, man. They're a terrific band, one of my favorite debut albums of all time. And I'm glad you gave this 4th track a listen, man.
Yeah, enjoyed it a lot.
Great. Glad you did. Everybody out there in the listening audience, let us know what you think of Silversun pickups, Carnivas, 3 Seed, any other stuff by them we should check out. Or maybe other sounds and bands. I know, John, we've mentioned Smashing Pumpkins ad nauseum when we talk about these guys because there is a correlation there, but maybe any other acts that they remind you of or genres that they remind you of. Or just anything else, not even apropos to this song. Feel free to drop it down in the comment section. It's there for a reason, and we're always interested to hear what you guys have to say. Also, while we have your attention, particularly if you're new, please subscribe. Anybody, new or old, can like, share, subscribe, do whatever you all like. Just help us get this channel out there. We're trying to grow it, and we are trudging along to 900, 1,000, and hopefully well beyond that. And we thank you so much for your help in doing that, reaching that goal. All that out of the way, John and I hope to see all of y'all and plenty more on the next episode of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.